We are here with new episode. Canada has recently introduced a new policy that has caught the attention of the automobile industry and could affect the U.S. electric vehicle market. This decision could have a big impact on both economies, especially with the way the electric vehicle industry is growing. But what led to this decision, and how will it affect trade relations between Canada and the U.S.? Let's take a closer look at what's happening. At the beginning of 2025, President Donald Trump imposed high tariffs on imports from Canada, Mexico, and China. He said this was necessary to tackle drug trafficking and illegal immigration. These tariffs included a 25% tax on goods from Canada and Mexico, with Canadian oil and energy products facing a 10% tax. Trump explained that these measures were meant to stop the flow of drugs, especially fentanyl, and protect the American economy. In response, Canadian trade expert Steve Verhel joined forces with Kenneth Smith Ramos from Mexico and former U.S. Congressman Kevin Brady to create the Coalition for North American Trade, CNAT. Their goal is to support free trade and reduce the economic tensions caused by the trade war. They are working with business leaders and politicians to restore stability in trade between North American countries. These tariffs have raised concerns about the possibility of an economic slowdown and higher prices for consumers in North America. According to the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, the tariffs could cost American consumers between $120 billion and $225 billion per year, making inflation worse. The stock market reacted negatively, with major U.S. stock indices dropping sharply. However, despite these challenges, negotiations continued. The Trump administration granted a one-month exemption for U.S. automakers importing vehicles from Canada and Mexico, giving them time to adjust their business strategies without facing immediate financial harm. Canadian businesses have started to reduce their dependence on the U.S. market in response to these tariffs. The Canadian Association of Petroleum Producers is looking for new buyers outside the U.S. to reduce the risks of relying on just one market. The largest pension fund in Canada has also warned against depending too much on a single market and is promoting economic diversification. To encourage local investment, the Canadian government has extended mineral exploration tax credits for another 2 years, aiming to strengthen the mining sector and reduce reliance on foreign, especially Chinese, investments. These efforts show that Canada is focusing on self-sufficiency and economic resilience. As tensions between the U.S. and Canada grow, a Canadian politician has made a bold proposal that could have serious consequences for a major American company. In response to Trump's tariffs on Canadian goods, Jagmeet Singh, leader of Canada's New Democratic Party, NDP, announced a plan targeting Tesla. He proposed bringing back and increasing the electric vehicle, EV, rebate program to support Canadian auto workers. If elected, Singh promised to restore the $5,000 rebate for EV purchases that the Liberal government cancelled in January 2025 and double it to $10,000 for those buying Canadian-made EVs. This plan is meant to boost domestic car manufacturing and protect auto worker jobs amid trade tensions with the U.S. Singh also stated that an NDP government would impose a 100% tariff on Tesla vehicles because of the company's ties to Donald Trump's administration. He argued that his plan prioritizes Canadian workers over corporations. Singh criticized Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre and Liberal leadership candidate Mark Carney, saying their policies favor big businesses and the wealthy while neglecting workers. He accused Poilievre of being too close to billionaires like Elon Musk, who supports him, and warned that Carney's proposal to cut federal jobs would worsen economic struggles for Canadians. Singh's economic plan, called Build Canadian, by Canadian, aims to protect and create unionized jobs in Canada. It includes policies such as restricting U.S. companies from winning federal contracts if tariffs are in place, giving preference to unionized workers, and requiring more Canadian-made materials in government-funded projects. He emphasized that these measures would not only protect existing jobs but also create new opportunities in manufacturing, construction, and other industries. His plan also encourages the use of Canadian-made steel for infrastructure projects. Singh's proposal comes at a time when Canadian auto workers are uncertain about the future, as Trump has threatened to impose tariffs on all Canadian goods. The NDP has made it clear that if this happens, Canada will respond with its own tariffs, specifically targeting Tesla due to its connections to Trump. Singh argued that his plan is not just about retaliation, it is about protecting Canadian workers and ensuring their economic security. His support for the continuation of 100% tariffs on Chinese EVs, which were introduced in late 2024, reflects his party's strong stance on protecting Canadian industries. Singh encouraged Canadians to buy locally made cars, saying that choosing Canadian products would help keep jobs in the country and strengthen the economy. He positioned the NDP as the party that stands up for workers rather than billionaires. By framing his policies around major economic concerns, Singh hopes to set himself apart from his political opponents and appeal to voters in the next election. Meanwhile, Tesla has responded to these changes by increasing prices across its vehicle lineup in Canada. Starting February 1, 2025, the price of the Tesla Model 3 Performance trim rose by $9,000, from $70,990 to $79,990. Other Tesla models, including the Model Y, Model S, and Model X, saw uniform price increases of $4,000 across all trims. These price hikes came at the same time as the expiration of Canada's federal EV rebate program, which had previously offered a $5,000 incentive. With these changes, many Tesla models no longer qualify for provincial rebates, making them even more expensive for consumers. As a result, Tesla's sales in Canada fell by 70% in January 2025 compared to December 2024. The overall market for electric and plug-in hybrid vehicles also declined by 79% in the same period. Other automakers, including Chevrolet and Hyundai, also saw significant drops in sales, showing that the entire industry was affected by the loss of government incentives and price increases. Experts believe that Canadian consumers are highly sensitive to price changes, and these factors have discouraged many people from buying electric vehicles. The loss of both federal and provincial rebates has made EVs less affordable, slowing down the growth of the market. However, when looking at a year-over-year comparison, EV sales in Canada actually increased by 30% from January 2024 to January 2025, according to S&P Global. Despite the short-term drop, automakers like Polestar and General Motors have introduced their own incentives to attract customers. Some Canadian politicians have also called for trade tensions to be reduced. Chrystia Freeland, a former deputy prime minister who is considering running for prime minister, suggested a 100% tariff on Tesla cars imported from the U.S. She argued that targeting major American companies would put pressure on the U.S. government to reconsider its tariffs. This issue has divided public opinion in Canada. Some believe that singling out Tesla is unfair, while others support the move because of the company's close association with Trump's policies, which they see as harmful to Canada. This debate highlights the challenges of using tariffs as a tool in trade disputes. Another proposal suggests that Canada should reduce or eliminate the 100% tariff on Chinese EVs, which was introduced in October 2024. Lowering this tariff could allow more competition in the Canadian market, making EVs more affordable and increasing pressure on U.S. automakers to push for lower tariffs. This could benefit the entire North American auto industry. With all these trade tensions and policy changes, the future of Tesla in Canada remains uncertain. One possible solution is for Tesla to start manufacturing vehicles in Canada. This would allow the company to avoid tariffs and take advantage of local incentives for domestic production. Tesla has already made investments in Canada, including acquiring Hybar Systems in 2019, a company specializing in battery manufacturing equipment. In 2021, Tesla expanded its operations with a facility in Markham, Ontario, which builds advanced equipment for its global factories. If Tesla decides to build cars in Canada, it could help the company stay competitive in the market despite the ongoing trade disputes. Tesla is working to strengthen its electric vehicle (EV) supply chain by filing applications with the Ontario government. These applications show Tesla's interest in building an industrial site for extracting and processing minerals. This move highlights Tesla's goal of securing essential materials for EV batteries, with Ontario playing a crucial role. The province has valuable resources like nickel and cobalt, which are key ingredients in lithium-ion batteries used by Tesla. By setting up mineral extraction and processing in Ontario, Tesla aims to have better control over its battery supply chain, reduce costs, and lower risks from relying on external suppliers. Tesla's decision comes at a time when Ontario's automotive sector is seeing major developments. Recently, Volkswagen announced plans to build a $7 billion factory in St. Thomas, Ontario, after securing $13 billion in government subsidies. This shows a growing trend where major car manufacturers recognize the benefits of having local production. To move forward with its plans, Tesla is hiring experts who can help the company navigate government regulations. One notable hire is a former battery mineral advisor for the Ontario government, now working as Tesla's critical minerals and supply chain policy advisor. This appointment shows Tesla's commitment to working with the government and ensuring compliance with local laws. By extracting and processing minerals in Ontario, Tesla not only strengthens its competitive position in the EV market but also contributes to the province's economy and innovation in sustainable technology. The relationship between the United States and Canada has been strained due to new tariffs. The U.S. recently imposed a 25% tariff on Canadian imports, except for energy products, which have a 10% tariff. In response, Canada announced a 25% tariff on $30 billion worth of U.S. goods, with plans to extend this to an additional $125 billion. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau called the U.S. tariffs very dumb and unfair, rejecting claims that Canada is not doing enough to stop fentanyl trafficking. These trade tensions have raised concerns about economic slowdowns and rising consumer prices. Since the US, Canada, and Mexico have closely linked economies, these tariffs could disrupt supply chains and increase costs for manufacturers and consumers. The automotive and agriculture industries are among those preparing for the impact, with many urging for diplomatic solutions to prevent long-term economic damage. The tariffs have also sparked public reactions in Canada. Many Canadians are calling for a boycott of American goods and services, preferring to buy domestic products instead. Some stores have started labeling items to show they are made in Canada. Travel agencies have also reported a drop in trips to the US as Canadians choose other destinations. This movement reflects a strong desire for economic independence and resilience. Trudeau has accused former U.S. President Donald Trump of trying to damage the Canadian economy to pave the way for annexing Canada into the U.S. However, U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick suggested that negotiations could lead to a compromise. The business world is also adjusting. For example, the chocolate company Lindt & Sprüngli is moving some production from the U.S. to Europe to avoid Canadian tariffs. Other industries are making similar moves to protect themselves from supply chain disruptions and rising costs. These developments have already affected the stock market, adding to economic uncertainty. Government rebates are also playing a big role in the EV market. Financial incentives, such as tax rebates, help make EVs more affordable by reducing their high upfront costs. Since January 2024, the U.S. has provided $2 billion in EV tax rebates, covering over 300,000 vehicles. However, these incentives are not always stable. In some areas, when subsidies were removed or reduced, EV sales dropped, showing how sensitive demand is to financial support. The arrival of cheaper foreign-made EVs, especially from China, has also increased competition, putting pressure on local manufacturers. Consumers consider many factors when buying an EV, including cost, reliability, and brand reputation. Some foreign brands, such as Polestar, are even offering discounts to attract U.S. Tesla owners. This competition highlights the need for policies that support local EV manufacturers while maintaining a fair market. Governments must balance financial incentives, supply chain stability, and free trade while ensuring a smooth transition to electric mobility. Trade tensions between the U.S. and Canada have also created uncertainties in the EV market. The U.S. has imposed a 25% tariff on Canadian imports, and Canada has responded with similar tariffs. One proposal includes a 100% tariff on Tesla vehicles, which would double their price in Canada and make them less affordable for consumers. If this happens, Canadian buyers might choose locally made EVs instead. These trade policies are also raising concerns about the availability and variety of EV models in Canada. If manufacturers face higher costs due to tariffs, they may reduce the number of EV models offered in Canada. This could slow down EV adoption and hurt environmental sustainability goals. To prevent these issues, negotiations between the US and Canada must continue. A fair resolution would help stabilize the market, keeping EVs affordable and widely available. Consumers should stay informed about these developments and engage with policymakers to support economic and environmental interests. A new controversy involving Elon Musk has gained attention in Canada. A parliamentary petition with over 200,000 signatures is calling for the revocation of Musk's Canadian citizenship. The petition was started by author Qualia Reid and sponsored by NDP Member of Parliament Charlie Angus. It claims that Musk's close ties to former US President Donald Trump are against Canada's national interests. Musk was born in South Africa and gained Canadian citizenship in 1989 through his mother, who was born in Saskatchewan. He later became a US citizen and now leads companies like Tesla, SpaceX, and X, formerly Twitter. Recently, Musk took on a government role in the US as the head of the Department of Government Efficiency under Trump. The petition argues that Musk's work with Trump threatens Canadian sovereignty, especially given Trump's previous threats of tariffs and even annexing Canada. However, experts say that revoking Musk's citizenship would be difficult since he obtained it legally through his Canadian mother. While the petition is unlikely to succeed, it reflects growing concerns among Canadians about foreign political influence. The petition will remain open until June 20, 2025, after which it will be submitted to the House of Commons for discussion. The recent US tariffs on imports from Canada, Mexico, and China have major effects on global supply chains, particularly in the automotive and technology industries. The tariffs, which include a 25% tax on Canadian and Mexican imports and a 10% tax on Chinese goods, were introduced to address economic and security concerns. However, they have caused serious challenges for industries that rely on international suppliers. Car manufacturers like Tesla, General Motors, and Toyota depend on supply chains that cross North American borders multiple times. These tariffs could increase production costs, disrupt manufacturing, and raise prices for consumers. Experts warn that these challenges could hurt profits and lead to job losses. The technology industry also faces risks, as companies like Tesla and SpaceX rely on global supply chains for key components. The tariffs could increase costs and force companies to rethink their sourcing strategies, possibly shifting production to other locations. While this might cause short-term disruptions, it could also encourage more investment in domestic manufacturing. Overall, these tariffs create economic uncertainty, raising fears of inflation and changes in trade relationships. Some experts believe the tariffs could push the US into a recession by late 2025, as supply chain disruptions reduce business investments and consumer confidence. Canadian leaders have responded to these trade tensions with countermeasures. Ontario Premier Doug Ford has threatened to cut off energy supplies to the US, emphasizing Ontario's role in cross-border energy trade. Quebec Premier François Legault has proposed increasing export taxes on US goods and removing American products from local markets. These actions show that Canadian provinces are united in defending their economic interests. Meanwhile, Canadian citizens have launched grassroots movements to boycott American goods and services. Many businesses now highlight Canadian-made products, and fewer Canadians are traveling to the US for vacations. This shift shows a strong push for economic self-reliance. Amid these tensions, diplomatic efforts continue. Steve Verhel, a key Canadian trade negotiator, co-founded the Coalition for North American Trade, CNAT. This group works to promote long-term trade benefits and prevent further escalation of trade wars. Verhel argues that tariffs hurt the US-Mexico-Canada Agreement, USMCA, and suggests that the US should focus on better trade policies instead of imposing tariffs. With businesses, consumers, and governments reacting to these tariffs, it is clear that trade relationships are shifting, and long-term economic strategies are needed. Thanks for watching. Keep it and stay tuned.